That's great. All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Delafield Board of Supervisors meeting. If you'd all rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you do a roll call vote, Mr. Green?
For Supervisors, Neosopoulos.
Present.
Granick.
Present.
Wolfley.
Present.
Michaels.
Present.
Troy.
Present. All right, citizen comments. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to make a comment regarding items that are on or not on the agenda, now's the time. The board may not engage in a discussion with the citizen making the comment. Individual presentations are limited to 3 minutes, and citizens shall follow the rules set forth in section 2.04 sub 1 sub D of the town code. Yes, ma'am. Would you come up to the podium and give the administrator your information?
He's got it.
I handed it to him.
Yes.
Hi, good evening. I want to start by saying thank you for your service to the town. I'm Judy Feducci, and my husband and I and family live in Still Meadow subdivision at W291 and 3796 Tree Line Court. I'm here this evening to discuss with you the favorable treatment that the Thomas family is asking of you. Every other subdivision in our town, whether it's Hawk's Nest or Still Meadow, Woodridge, Arbors, High Ridge, and this is only to name a few, and all the homeowners, we've all been required to live under the town of Delafield's low density and open space requirements for many years as the town has developed. Yet for profit, and this is the point here that I came to make tonight, and it might have been made already, but for profit, the Thomas family wants to be treated more favorably than all these other developments. So if you think back to when Seatman came and the Arbors and High Ridge and all the other developments that came before the board, they all have been treated the same way. And I want to talk to you a little bit about, as a homeowner, what I live under. So I have I'm very lucky, we're blessed, we live in town of Delafield, we have an acre lot. And I want to put in a pool. Guess what? I don't get to put in the size that I want. Because I live in the town and we live under these rules of open space, which I love and embrace. So I end up putting in a pool that's less than the size that maybe I wanted to put in. So they're not, when you think about our reaction to their development, it's really a point of fairness that I want you to consider. The fairness to all the past developers, the fairness to all the past farmers that might have wanted X, Y, and Z, and yet We've had a very conservative board for many years in this community that had really had a vision of what they wanted this community to become. And now, at the last minute, when we're almost all developed, comes this development that may change the flavor. And it's just not fair. Finally, when these other developments have been approved, they've always been approved to mirror the land near where their development is. And in this case, the land is near High Ridge. And a development on this property can be done for profit, perhaps not the profit that the family had hoped for, but they certainly will make money from their asset. And yet I'm asking you to protect the rest of the community to make sure that this land now mirrors everything else that surrounds.
Okay, ma'am,
Thank you.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else who'd like to speak?
I didn't realize we had a card to fill. Yeah, that'd be good. My name's Mark Wilcox. I live in the town of Delafield on Glen Cove Road. First off, I want to thank y'all for your involvement with all the meetings and input and research that's been going on. Something that just doesn't sit right with me, though, is I understand it's going to be developed, but the way it's being proposed seems very aggressive. You know, you look at this size of the parcel and the proposed increase in number of families, it's really increasing the density of the town, but in a disproportionate manner. With the size being that it is and the number of people going into it, it's concerning, and it's concerning on a number of reasons, traffic and a number of things. But one thing that's super important that you can't go back on is environmentally. And this is an area that's sensitive in its proximity to Pewaukee Lake, and it's landlocked by neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods. And there's a significant watershed that flows into the lake. And I just really need to have assurance that the appropriate amount of research is done through the DNR and through various studies to make sure that this doesn't impact the quality of life for people that live in the town of Delafield, especially in the proximity of this proposed development. So I understand there's not a lot of free land in the area, and I understand that the town of Waukesha would like to have housing for perhaps more people, employees, what have you. But this is a very sensitive parcel of land, and it really needs to be evaluated before anything is done that can't be undone. When Baymont Hotel came into the area a number of years ago, there were a line of trees there that were old oak trees. And they knew they couldn't cut them down, but surprise, surprise, they did. And they paid a fine. A little money out of their pocket, but the damage is done. Those trees won't come back. Similar to this project, if it's advanced without appropriately evaluating the ramifications, the damage could be done, and it can't be undone. So it really needs to be evaluated sensitively and thoroughly before it can go forward in this manner, and I suggest going with a low-density approach. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yes?
Good evening, everyone. I just have a few more points to make. I'd like to reiterate the message of fairness. I decided to educate myself a little bit more on this, and I never really had to think about too much about lot size and things like that. And so I drove all around the town of Delafield, and the first thing I was the first thing that I saw was how big the town of Delafield is, and how all areas that I was looking at were wooded, houses very separated. It's beautiful. It's truly a beautiful place that we live, and we're so fortunate. And I would hate to see anything change. And I know that one of the reasons that was given as to why this has to change and why we need this density is because big lots aren't selling anymore, and residential isn't selling anymore. Smaller houses are going. But I know when they just purchased the area around St. John's Military Academy, the developer there said that residential was actually in high demand. I just drove around and I saw Woodridge sold out. Hawks Haven, 1 to 1.5 acres. White Oak subdivision, 1 to 1.75 acres. My house is 1.1 acre, and I am in the area that I'm hoping you would try to match, because that's the whole idea, right, is to try to match the area that it's around. I also did some research and found out that the lot that I had in Milwaukee is about the size that some of the area is proposed for. And I don't think that that matches. So that's all I'll say about that. I also think that it's important that this may set a precedent for other developers. Wimmer Homes is kind of our back door to our neighborhood, and if our front door is filled up with traffic, sometimes we have to go out the back door, so to speak. And if that gets redeveloped, how are we going to stop that from having this type of a high density as well? So I'd appreciate your consideration for that. Lastly, I would just like to say that there's been some talk about road noise and things like that, but you can actually walk all the way down the lake and get some road noise on this side of the lake if you are concerned about that. There's a lot of people who have built their houses and don't seem to be that concerned about that. But one thing that could possibly happen is to allow the developer to put some of their 40% reserved land on the outside and make some sort of walking trail for the residents around here. Even walking down Elmhurst, which I do every day now, since the gyms require masks, is sometimes very dangerous at the traffic level that it is.
Okay,
so
ma'am,
I'd
I'm
appreciate
gonna
your
have to cut you off.
consideration for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else care to comment?
Terry Mahoney Ogden, W290 and 2171 Happy Hollow Road. Thanks for your time and for listening. That's really what it's all about, is listening, and for that we're grateful. Touching on actually something that was just said, and you've heard me say all along, so I think I'm going to say it whenever you hear me. Is this what you want your legacy to be? Is this how you really want to be known for in the town, whatever happens and however the land is developed? Rob, we know you're going to, it's not that you can't, we're all saying it's...
Don't address anybody in the audience, please.
Okay, so we know the land's going to get developed. Nobody's saying that they don't want it developed. I'm just mentioning to you that whatever you guys decide to do, and my concern, it was actually just touched on, is the precedent that will be set. The precedent that will be set. You think about, and actually she mentioned it, and actually we were talking about this. So Wimmer Communities has the apartments also right down the way. So you walk by, lots of open space, lots of green space. And one of the benefits of that is too, they're actually to work with like the church, or work with a yacht club whenever parking is needed. The town works together and you'll see that big open space lined up with trailers. Now, I can tell you, like, pretty much I know this because they're friends and we talked about this. The minute you guys start changing precedents of things, woo, Wimmer obviously, they do a lot of other buildings. And so you know, he's been kind of biding his time and keeping the apartments like they've been because he's got all this open space and he's had to follow the rules, and that's what he's done. Now, you start changing the rules, then, okay, he's like, well, all right, maybe it's worth it for me now to tear these old ones down and build another high-density thing that now the town of Delafield is allowing me to, so I can just cram up this whole area, make it, and then here we go again, just what we're talking about now with the Thomas Farm. We'll be back saying, well, now then he'll have the right to say, well, you changed the rules for these guys. And it's really about changing the rules. If you're willing to really disregard everything that was done years past and the disrespect and from all the rules that were made for everybody else and that everybody else had to abide by, even like Judy spoke, she's on the other side of the lake. And I know I can't address you, but for those of you that have said that, you know, you really wouldn't live on this side of the lake, you know, Ron and Kevin, if I've had this conversation, I still go back to the fact is you aren't any more important or I'm not more important than with either of us, depending on which side of the lake we're on. It's the town. I think if you were to ask people, they'd rather pay a little more in taxes, we're not talking thousands and thousands of dollars, to keep the rules that the town of Delafield has always had, and that is to maintain our open space. And I think, again, based on what you're trying to achieve with this density and the traffic and the noise and the pollution and the lights and all, you know, the safety, I do think if you were to ask most people, probably not the majority, they would say, yes, charge us a little bit more to live in the town of Delafield because we want it to be what we came here for, and that was open space. I don't know what my time is. The other big concern we have is the lake. It was mentioned a year or so ago when we came to these meetings about the wells and Pewaukee Lake, and I think it's time to revisit some of that. What will this have to do? I understand Glen Cove is a big part of the natural habitat and watershed for the lake, and I think we need to look at that and say, before we just make this too dense, what's truly going to be the impact on Pewaukee Lake. And those are sort of my main points. Thank you for listening. And listen, listen, listen. Keep listening. That's all I'm asking you to do before y'all make some decisions. Thank you much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas,
I didn't fill out a slip, Ron.
you can do it afterwards.
I wasn't planning to say.
Yeah.
I'm Rob Thomas, and I guess I just want to remind you that what the Thomas family has done here is 3 years ago asked you as a board to look at the land use plan on our property. That's all we've done. We've done nothing since then but cooperate. And I'm really kind of getting tired about being thrown under the bus. We've done nothing but cooperate. This is not our plan. This is a plan by professional planners. We didn't engage them. And I guess I'm just getting tired of being thrown under the bus because I think all we've done as a family is cooperate.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else care to speak?
I didn't fill out the slip, but I'll fill it out later. Carrie Smith, N20 W29916 Glen Cove Road. I just wanted to add that on Gulf Road, there is passing lanes. You can pass anywhere you want to on Glen Cove. They're right in front of Gulf Road, right, and then Glen Cove. So right in that whole area there, it's all a passing zone, and I'm asking if you could make that no passing, because it's so difficult to see the freeway and then that two-laner, and then if someone's passing, it's so dangerous. And if you're adding way more people, I would think that we would want, for safety issues, to have Gulf Road no passing lane. That's it.
Just for your clarification, it's a county road. We don't have any control over whether there's a solid yellow line down the middle or whether there's passing
Well,
lanes.
we were talking about safety, and I think that
I
would
would agree.
be one of the main things. So who would I speak to?
The county.
Anyone I can call?
Ask Mr. Green, call Mr. Green during the week and he'll give you the contact
Okay,
information.
thank you.
Contact Supervisor Wolf or the county executive or the county highway department.
Okay, anybody else care to speak on any topic? Okay, then we'll close the citizen comments and we'll move to approval of the minutes for the town board meeting of April 13th, 2021. Any corrections to the minutes?
I move to approve the April 13, 2021 town board minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the April 13th, 2021 Town Board minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Action on vouchers submitted for payment. There are no 2020 budget items, and we will probably be removing that as an agenda item in the near future. Based on the auditor's report, to my knowledge, there's no 2021 budget corrections either. So it's the account payables and payroll
So
voucher.
for account payables, I'd like to make a motion to approve payments of checks 64683 through 64684 and checks number 64687 through 64715 in the amount of $36,494.55. And for payroll, a motion to approve the payrolls dated for April 30th, 2021 in the amount of $12,989.60.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the vouchers submitted for accounts payable and payroll. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Communications, Elmhurst Drive paving improvements. Mr. Tim.
Thank you. I just wanted to give the board an update of what we're at. So right now, we're in the midst of our paving program that we already started. We bid out we took some of the money and bid that out. They're actually been out there working. They're supposed to start paving tomorrow on a number of roads. So that's great that they're getting it done early. But we did set aside some money, and part of that was for Elmhurst Drive, which is from Oakton Road up to the end of the, doesn't quite get to the lake, but this is the Ogden property. And we've been back and forth with some of the residents over the years about what to do with that road. The intent of the road, when talking with Highway Superintendent Roberts, is, and what we do for almost all the lake roads, is we mill off 2 inches and put 2 inches back on. The drainage stays the same. We try to tweak some areas if we can to make them drain a little bit better. We try not to make any new problems. And so that's typically what we do with the lake road. We consider this a lake road. It's one that we took over when it was in 1990 when they took over all the lake roads. It's very narrow. It's 16 to 18 feet. It's not up to any standards. We did some soil borings. We have 3.5 to 4.5 inches of asphalt and little to no stone underneath it, which isn't good, but it works. We don't have, a lot of people on there, but we do need to pave it. There are some areas that are clearly a problem for us. All the water basically comes down to this point here, and then there's a little creek or a little drainage way that goes off to the lake. And so what the other problem we have, or the issue we have, is we have a low point right up in here. And this is where we've gotten a couple of complaints, right, in these 2 properties here. Sorry. Okay. And so basically there's a low spot right in here, and there is a garage that's 2 feet below the road there. And so that takes a little bit of water. It's got a little drain before you get into the actual garage, but it doesn't, I think it's filled up with stuff and it doesn't drain as well as probably it should. But anyway, so we had some different ideas that we said we'd look at. Putting curb and gutter on this side of the road, pushing all the water to that side, collecting it into storm sewer, getting it down to this point, get a public easement because we don't have a public easement to get it out to the lake. One of the problems with that is that for all these driveways here, every driveway would have a little bit, and you wouldn't have a high back curb, but you would have a little bit of a driveway curb. And in the heavy storms, all that water is just going to go right down the driveway because they all go down towards the lake. Our second one was to create a V channel in the roadway here, and mostly it's this section up here to get to this point. This section, it kind of runs to this side and follows it down to this point. So we think we can work with that without curb, but this is where we have the most complaints. But to do that V channel, we'd probably have to reconstruct the whole road because we'd have to change. Right now, it kind of slopes towards the lake in some places and slopes the other way in other places. To actually put that in the middle and get the water to flow to the middle is going to probably require excavation, and we can't put the asphalt on dirt. So we'd have to put in stone. We'd probably put in 10 inches of stone. Then the third option was to just do what we said we were gonna do, mill 2 inches off and put it back. So I gave you some cost for some of that work. These are estimates. You know, if we put on the curb on the lakeside, it's probably about $102,000 plus whatever it costs for an easement. If we do the excavation and put the invert down the middle for a portion of it, that's about $156,000. Our anticipated budget for it this year was $35,800. My recommendation, and I'm not necessarily looking for a lot of direction here. Our next step, Donnie and I would say, is we're gonna start meeting with residents here, especially where we wanna get an easement, and then start discussion. You may get calls, so I want you to be up to speed on what we did here. Our recommendation is to kind of go with the option 3, do just the milling and the paving, but create, you know, put in this spot if we can, where this low spot is at, we put in a drain here and we try to get an easement along here to get it out past the home so it can drain out to the lake. It'd be a small area of water that kind of flows to that point and then goes out to the lake, but that would kind of solve that problem up here. Everything else we think we can solve by just maybe tipping the road a little bit, putting in, you might have seen them if you go around lake roads, little asphalt curbs that we put in. Kind of those kinds of options. Eventually, all the water gets to this point, it would still get to this point except for this part up here. So we'd lessen the water that would be coming down here, and the intent is the water that kind of flows into these properties now would just remain to flow through the grass and what have you to the lake. So that's the direction we're going. We want to get an easement for that. That's going to take a little bit of effort, excuse me. And we'll work on that. We'll have to bring that back. We can't just dump the water on someone. We have to get a public easement because it's the road water. So we'll have to go through that. But then once we can get that tied down, then we would go out for another bid, you know, as soon as we can. Probably, you know, I'd like to do it no later than like July, get another bid out, and then get the work done yet this year. If we decide we can't get this done this year, then we'll take the money that we have left over and we will bid out for other roads, kind of getting ahead into next year's program already. But we will be having a second bid on that.
So where
Yeah.
along the line is the board involved?
It'll be at the easement. At the time of the easement, the board would need to probably approve the purchase of an
Sure,
easement.
absolutely.
And that could come out of, you know, the highway funds, or we haven't really decided how to do that. But, I mean, the funds set aside are for the road improvement program, as I see it, and that's comprehensive of whatever it takes for the road improvement. You know, we put in a trench drain at one location today for some drainage improvement. So that came out of the highway budget for that. So the easement, I could come out of the highway budget. I'd probably work with Dan to see if that's the appropriate place for it.
Okay, but if the easement is not, if you cannot get the easement before you take it to bid, are you gonna come back and give us an update as to?
If we can't get an easement, we're probably gonna put this project on hold and probably spend some more time to work on it, because we'll have to get the bid out, and we'll do other roads that need it right now too.
I don't think they should bid it before they come back to the board,
That's what
quite
I'm trying to
frankly.
get to. That's what
You
I'm
know,
trying to get to.
I think that, you know, I mean,
I'd like you to come back to the board before you go out to bid,
No,
with or without an easement.
Okay, that's fine. You mean you want us, if we don't do this, you wanna know what roads we're gonna do?
well, we just want to make sure that we know what's going on here, and, I mean, we don't have a lot of time this evening to discuss this. Maybe we could talk about this at another meeting, but is this the right approach and the right plan, or is this just a Band-Aid? I mean, I understand that we're gonna just mill this, but I mean, are there other options to make sure that this road is done in a, you know, done right, the right way? And I think that's a
Yeah.
deeper discussion that I think we need to have
Okay.
at another future board meeting, quite frankly.
Well, we could do that too.
Well, I'd like to know the easement cost before we decide a route
Yeah.
too.
The whole thing's critical
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
easement.
Okay, I mean, I'll proceed with that, with starting the discussions, and we'll see where that goes, and then bring it back, okay?
Good.
Because I think I agree, that
Is the
that was
easement
my
a-
first step.
Is it a route all the way to the lake, or is it just on the road?
Right now, we'd have to get an easement from the road to the
To the
lake.
lake.
Okay, so it's a full strip.
A full strip,
Okay.
you know, and then we would have to construct it, put in a pipe, restore it, the whole bit. So there's some cost associated with that. That's why the price goes up for that particular option. I think I had about 51,000, you know, so there's an added cost for that pipe and what have you on that.
Yeah.
But I'll start that. I'm
See
just.
how the discussions go and come back to
Yeah,
us. 'Cause
and that's
if-
fine, just so if
Yeah.
you get calls, because
We're gonna
I'll
get
be out
calls.
there, and we've been out there walking
We're
and
gonna get calls.
getting some, you know, people talking to us, and, you know, we've been upfront with them as to what we're trying to do, and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, we're trying to be money conscious, as far as, you know, it's a small road, and we're trying to do exactly what we do with other lake roads. We're trying to be fair. Everybody talks about fairness. We're trying to be fair. No one got a fully reconstructed road last year on all the lake roads, so I don't know why we would do it here necessarily, but if we can do this other solution, that would be best for us. So, okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for the update. Did anybody else have questions or comments for Tim before? Okay. Then we'll move on to 9, new business. We have a number of appointments to make tonight. 9A, discussion and possible action on the reappointment of Mr. Tim Frank to the Plan Commission with a term expiring on March 31st of 2024. I am proposing, Mr. Frank, I need a motion.
Motion to reappoint Tim Frank to the Plan Commission with a term expiring March 31st, 2024.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now,
I'll motion to approve Ed Cranick to the Plan Commission Board, effective immediately expiring April 19th, 2022.
well, why did you jump down 3 items?
Oh, you're on this one.
They're not in
You
order.
want the other
Go to
order?
the agenda.
Should have had Dan put them in the right order.
That's fine, we have a motion on the table, but let's try to follow the agenda.
I just
So we
figured
have a
Ed couldn't
motion-
appoint himself, so I thought I'd do it.
I have a motion to appoint Ed Cranick to the Planning Commission for a term expiring April 19th. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain as I have in the past.
Okay, so motion passes with 1 abstention.
I'm done doing this.
Okay, discussion and possible action on the appointment of Jennifer Janisek to the Plan Commission with a term effective June 1st, 2021, and expiring May 31st of 2022. Her resume, she's a new member. She's filling our vacancy. She's on the south side of Highway 94, on a nice parcel, big parcel of land. And her resume's right here.
In
Jennifer-
particular reason we're waiting till June 1st?
Just, we stagger these things, but
Okay.
no particular reason. I thought it would be more appropriate to make more progress on the Thomas Farm before we pushed her into an environment that she has not been informed of. But she get caught up. She's an attorney. She knows the law. She's experienced. Many members have different staggering terms, as you can see from the list, so it's pretty open.
Yep.
So I'd like a motion to nominate or to appoint Jennifer Janisek to the Plan Commission.
I move to appoint Jennifer Janusiak to the Plan Commission with the term effective June 1st, 2021 and expiring May 31st, 2022.
I have a motion. Do I have a
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Discussion and possible action on the reappointment of Richard Nowacki to the Board of Appeals with a term expiring March 31st, 2024.
Move to approve the reappointment of Richard Nowacki to the Board of Appeals with a term expiring March 31st, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on the appointment of Mike Worrell to the Lake County Fire Commission with a term expiring May 1st, 2021, and we're starting May 1st, 2021, and expiring May 30th. This is part of the
LCFR.
the LCFR We had one open commission. John Schrader is the other position on the commission.
And just to, for everybody, the commission is the one that deals with personnel stuff.
It's all
and-
human
And the board
resource.
is the one that deals with the
Operations
day-to-day
and
operational
budgets.
stuff, so.
Yeah.
I will make a motion to appoint Mike Burrell to the Lake Country Fire and Rescue Commission with a term effective May 1st, 2021, and expiring April 30th, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on the reappointment of Steve Michaels to the Lake Country Fire Board with a term effective May 1st, 2021, expiring April 30th, 2023.
Move to reappoint Steve Michaels to the Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board with a term effective May 1st, 2021, and expiring April 30th, 2023.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We've already taken care of Mr. Kranek. Discussion and possible action on the appointment of Joe Wolfel to the Lake Pewaukee Patrol Board.
I move that we appoint Joe Wolfel to represent the town of Delafield on the Lake Country Pewaukee Patrol Board.
I'll second.
Great. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay.
Is
so
there a term for that?
There's not.
It's indefinite.
It's indefinite.
Oh, wow.
Pete Van Horn was on the board.
It's terminal.
It's an important board. It's an important
You're
board.
gonna deal with the fishing people?
Right.
And water level.
Water level. Got it. Got the agenda set.
Okay, now, all those who were appointed, would you please stop by and see Dan sometime in the next 2 weeks to get sworn into office where necessary and fill out the appropriate documents? Except for tomorrow morning, Dan's tied up in meetings tomorrow morning. Okay, discussion and possible action to suspend the rules to allow Joe Wolfel to participate in the May 11th, 2021 town board meeting remotely with all right of participation, including counting toward the quorum and having the right to vote. Just as a little background, our attorney does not allow us to have, for modern terminology, Zoom meetings. I could declare a state of emergency and allow it, but in all good conscience, I don't think we're in a state of emergency.
Yep.
So the other way to allow it is to put it on the agenda, call for a motion. This is a one-time exemption, suspending the rules. Joe scheduled the vacation before he knew he would have the privilege of serving on this board. And, but I think it's good and positive and important that he can serve, or he can participate in the meeting remotely. So I would like to see a motion to suspend the rules to allow him to participate in the May 11th meeting.
Before we discuss the motion and discuss this, I mean, is there a potential quorum issue that is, precluding us from having a meeting on May 11th? I just don't, I just don't think that we're set up to have video meetings and Zoom meetings, within this boardroom. I appreciate the effort to want to participate and, be in the meeting. I just think that, if there's something on the meeting that is highly controversial or that he should be participating in, that somebody would hopefully, table that issue until, we could have a full meeting. So quite frankly, I'm not in favor of this, quite frankly.
Okay. I'm not sure I understand why, but Dan, with having a Zoom meeting or him participating remotely, is that a technological problem for us?
Well, we did it with, the public hearing for the Thomas Farm. We have a spare laptop that we could set up the Zoom meeting on. It would just be which way he's facing. Is he facing the board? Is he facing the audience? That type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's doable.
So it's doable. Well, I think as a new board member, I wanted to give him the courtesy of participating in the meeting, but also hearing public comments. We went through 20 minutes of public comments today.
Well, if he wants to watch public comment, he can tune into YouTube every night and
Okay.
watch it that
I
way.
disagree with your position. I think it's important, but if the board does not want to grant him the privilege or the possibility through participating in the Zoom meeting, then the motion, I'm asking for a motion. If the motion doesn't get submitted, then he doesn't participate. So I think it's important that all members can participate, especially the newer they are, the more important it is for the. Plus, Joe and I discussed this when we met, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I thought you wanted to participate.
Well, I definitely want to participate in all the meetings.
Good, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
so, yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, it was something that was scheduled over a year ago.
Oh, we all,
But,
yeah, this is,
Nobody's gonna make 100%.
right.
This is your request, Joe, to be able to
Well, I was gonna
participate?
say I would abstain from this vote, right, because obviously this has got me to go on it, so.
I guess, if you're not gonna vote, that's fine, but you're requesting the board to allow you to participate, is that correct?
Yes, I would like to be sure to be able to participate in all of the board meetings.
In light of that, I would make a motion to to suspend the rules to allow Joe to participate in the May 11th meeting remotely, with all right of participation, including counting towards quorum and having the right to vote.
I'll second that.
all right, I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to allow Joe to participate in the May 11th, 2021 board meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And one abstention. So we have 3 ayes, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. So the motion passes. So Dan, set up the Zoom meeting, or however you want to set it up. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Discussion and possible action on alcohol permit for town park facilities from May 22nd, 2021. For a birthday party event at the Sports Common from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Dan?
Everything that's in your packet is the information I can provide.
And everything's in order?
Yep, they don't require, they've already reserved the area with the alcohol fee, so
Cool.
just for the board's.
Motion to approve the alcohol permit for the facilities on May 22nd for the birthday events at Sports Commons from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve an alcohol permit for the town parks facility for May 22nd for the Sports Common. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Announcements and planning items. The Plan Commission is meeting on May 4th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. The next town board meeting is May 11th at 6:30 p.m. And the second town board meeting in May is May 25th, again at 6:30 p.m. If there's nothing else.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned. And Dan, you'll notify everybody that's not here that they've been